Hello everyone, welcome to yet another Cave Diver Reacts. My name is Gus.
Hi everyone, I'm Woody.
And Elle.
I got Elle in my lap here, not sure if you can see her.
Still here. This week we're going to be reacting to yet another cave diving PSA. This one I saw years ago. Somebody saw one of the PSAs that we covered a few weeks ago and asked us to talk about this one. I kind of vaguely remember watching this one. I didn't watch it before we reacted to this one. You've never seen this one. But one of the things I remember about this PSA is that this one will illustrate the difference between tech diving training and recreational diving training. And I want people to watch this, especially if you're a recreational diver. For non-divers, you probably are not going to tell the difference, or maybe you do. But the people watching this that are recreational divers, just open water divers, one of the things that you will notice is the completely different approach that Lamar hires, who's a total legend, cave diving legend, the owner of Dive Right, rebreather diver, cave diving legend, and instructor. You can actually get certified by Lamar. The approach that he takes to training and how he talks about it and the feedback he provides, it's completely different. So Woody, before we start the video, how do you provide feedback when a open water student makes a mistake?
I like to do it in a positive way. I don't like to do it in a negative way. Meaning, right. What I don't do is this. Hey, Gus, that's not the way you should clear your mask. You forgot to blow out of your nose.
Right.
That would be negative. Instead, I would say, hey, Gus, when you cleared your mask, I really liked the way you looked up. And then once I showed you to blow out your nose, man, you really effectively were able to clear the water. You see the difference? Because then they remember, wow, I did blow out my nose well, instead of, oh, man, only focusing on what they did wrong. It's positive reinforcement teaching, and we know through psychological studies, people learn better in that method, and I relate better to instructors that teach me that way as well.
Absolutely. For some reason, when it comes to tech diving, in a lot of cases, and again, I know we're gonna get crucified for this. In tech diving, a lot of that goes out the window. A lot of the instruction in tech diving, and I'm not going to say I don't like this, is a lot more to the point of if you do this, you will die kind of thing. Like there is a huge need to keep it real, because once you go into tech diving, there's a lot of things that if you don't do right, you will die, right? You skip a deco stop, you can die. I mean, you go into a cave with no line, you can die. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of leeway when it comes to recreational diving, right? There's a lot of, you can make a mistake in recreational diving, like I did on my first dive when I ascended super fast after my first safety stop, which is a lot of mistakes that a lot of people make on the first dive. And next thing I knew, I was at the surface because I forgot to deflate my BCD and nothing happened. Right? There's a lot of margin of error where you're going to be okay. In tech diving, that's not the case. And I think Lamar, being the tech diving, stud that he is, takes that approach to training and takes that approach to this PSA.
Wow, I look forward to seeing this. By the way, when do I get to tell the dumbest, stupidest thing I've ever done as an instructor?
We got to do that.
I didn't hurt anybody, but I can't wait. People are asking.
This week. We should release that this week. I feel that.
Are you going to put like those things you could put above me, dumb, with an arrow? I would let you do that on this one. Dumb. Dunce,
we
dumb.
should do that.
Okay. It's coming up.
But yeah, let's check this out. But I want everyone, again, to keep that in mind, that when it comes to tech diving, cave diving, and whatnot, there's a lot less sunshine and rainbows when it comes to training. It's very straight to the point. If you don't get this right, there are consequences, and I kind of appreciate that about the training.
I'm Lamar Hires, Chairman of the National Speleological Society Cave Diving Section. I've made over 1,000 cave dives, and I've certified more than 600 cave divers and cave instructors. These divers and instructors have made thousands of safe cave dives. On the other hand, I've been involved in the recovery of more than a dozen divers, ranging from beginners to instructors, who didn't have any cave training and died in caves. Every one of these tragedies was completely unnecessary and avoidable. The ultimate goal of the cave diving section and diving professionals everywhere is to reduce these accidents to zero. I'd like to thank the dive operator and instructor who is showing you this videotape, and also in their efforts in helping us with this.
That's us.
I'd also like to thank you for giving me a few moments of your time to talk about the hazards of overhead environment diving,
You're welcome,
especially
Lamar.
caves. The easiest way to explain the danger of diving in caves without the proper training is to show it to you by following a typical accident scenario. This is Bill and Fred, two experienced open water divers who are about to dive in the open water adjacent to a cave. Bill and Fred start the dive staying in open water, like they've been taught. After a while, curiosity leads them to the cave mouth. Fred has a dive light with him, and they discover they can see pretty far back. At this point, they make a critical error to go in just a little ways. These divers know better. They were taught not to go into caves. Perhaps when they thought of caves, they thought of a dark, scary place. But the cave isn't dark and scary. Perhaps they rationalized to themselves that the rules don't apply here. Perhaps one of them went into the cave before and got away with it. Not this time, though.
Let me stop there for a second, because we do get this comment a lot. The comment comes in a couple of different shapes. One of them is, you guys are nuts. Why are you cave diving? There's nothing to see down there. It's just scare, bunch of wet rocks. There's nothing to see. This is stupid, which is not true. Caves are beautiful. We like them. Every one of them is different. It's always amazing to me when we go to places like North Florida, cave country, and you can hit Peacock Springs, for example, and Little River, which are super close to each other, but yet completely different. It's kind of like, it reminds me of Italy. Like, I don't know, you've been to Italy, when you go to like Florence and then you go just a little bit away to like another city and they look like completely different countries, right? That's how caves are in Florida. They look like completely different countries down there. So they're different and they're beautiful in their own ways. And this is completely true what Lamar is saying, that when you go down there and you use your light and they look clear, because they're a spring in a lot of cases, they look crystal clear. Like, I took my brother to Ginny's Ballroom, which is not a cave, it's a cavern. And he went in and he's like, this is like being outside, like in the air. There's no particles. It's just perfect visibility, right? So that can give you, in a cave, a false sense of security, that you use your light and you're like, wow, this is perfect visibility. Let's go in a little bit. This is not like I thought it was going to be, because you think that a cave is a dark, wet rocks, weird, because every video you watch is this people going through like crazy restrictions or whatever. Not all caves are like that, because that's the other comments that we get is like, aren't you a little too big to be cave diving? Some of these caves are massive, especially caves like Eagle's Nest, where you can park like 4 Boeing 747s next to each other. I mean, these caves are humongous.
I agree. I'm not commenting because I agree. They're fascinating. There's beautiful formations in them, but you're entering a no light zone, and you can easily silt them out, and you can't come directly back to the surface. Those 3 things can make them incredibly dangerous if you don't follow, the 5 rules of cave diving, which, by the way, Lamar was instrumental in coming up with these 5 rules of cave diving.
Writing those. Yep.
At first, they're having a great time. The water's air clear and warm.
Air clear. Yep.
They may even pass a sign trying to remind them, one last time, to turn around before it's too late. But they go deeper in, not realizing their kicks and bubbles are stirring up silt and forming a cloud that completely obscures the way they came in. The same way they'll have to find their way out. One of the most serious dangers of cave diving has closed in behind Bill and Fred, but they don't even know it. Yet. Eventually, they decide it's time to go. But which way do they go? The silt has masked the right passage out.
I'm stopping it.
I'm glad.
And the reason I'm stopping it is that a big part of cave diving training is to be able to avoid silting out a cave. And that comes with proper buoyancy, which I'm always having to work on. It's not easy, especially on a rebreather. And proper kicks. Notice in this, they're flutter kicking, like normal scuba divers do. But in a cave, when you kick like that, it's just bringing those particles up and throwing them up into the cave water, and they don't come down sometimes for a day, sometimes for a week. In a low flow environment, those just sit there and you cannot see through them at all. I mean, they even touched the bottom with their hands. So if you touch that bottom, you can still see in front of you, but if you turned around at that point, you would see nothing. And the divers behind you won't see anything either.
No matter how good your light is.
That's why there is such strict protocols for proper buoyancy and proper kick controls in cave diving. He's telling you how dangerous it is to silt out a cave.
That's why the cave class is so good. Like, even if you fail the class, whatever that means, if you don't get your certification, you'll be such a much better diver at the end of it. When it comes to buoyancy and kicking and your control as a diver, your skills as a diver will be much better, even if you don't get certified after the class, because not everyone will get it. Not everyone will pass. The one thing I was just going to add is, again, these guys have a light, and that is another thing that people I see in the comments they get wrong. It's like, well, why would they not just follow the line? If they have a light, they can just get out. Well, if you're silted out, your light, it's like a wall. Like, it will not get through the silt. There's nothing you can do. And on my video where I recorded my own cave dive and then I reacted to it, I talk about using the light at an angle to enhance your angle of viewing. Of course, I wasn't in a full silt out condition. I was just using it because there was some, particles, there's some silt in the water. It wasn't completely clear, and I'm using it as an angle, and it works just fine. And I demonstrate the way it works if I'm, pointing it straight versus at an angle, just to show you. But in a full silt out, it doesn't matter if you're at an angle, straight, from the bottom, however you do it, you can't see anything, right? So yeah, these guys have a light, but they're silting it out. That light will be useless in a few seconds.
They're lost. And now it's simply a question of whether they're lucky and find their way out before they run out of air. Or not, and drown. This isn't the only way accidents happen in caves. Even without silt, there are dozens of scenarios that lead to the same grave end. Their light could fail, locking them into a world with absolutely no light and no hope of finding their way out. All they can do is grope the walls until their regulators start breathing hard. Even avoiding silt and a working light are no guarantee. Turning to leave, they discover that what seems to be the way out isn't. Once again, it's simply a question of luck. The game is Russian roulette. Will they find their way out first or run out of air first? Or it may not matter whether they're lost. They may use too much air going in, not realizing they won't have enough air to make it back to the entrance. Or a free-flowing regulator unexpectedly exhausts one of their air supplies deep in the cave, and there's not enough air to share to get them both back.
I
hit the pause button too.
I absolutely love the straightforward nature of tech diving training. I'm just telling you, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, the way he talks is like, this is what will happen. Your light will break, or you will silt it out, or you will not silt it out and your light will work, but then you'll get lost, or you will use too much air going in and not have it enough to get out, or you will have enough air, but then your body's regulator will fail, and now both of you won't have enough air, Or like he'll just go into all of these bunch of problems that you didn't think about because you're not cave certified.
Well put. What I was going to, that's great. I agree with that. What I was going to add and why I hit the pause button is he hasn't said this yet, but you saw an illustration of these two divers simulating that they were starting to panic.
Yeah.
This is the other fatal element in a cave. On top of all the problems that you just perfectly described, now you start to panic. Imagine you in there. You can't see. You don't know your way out. You can't even really see your buddy. How would you really feel? When you start to panic, you exacerbate the problem. You're moving around. You start breathing faster, sucking down your air quicker, silting out the cave more, and that faster breathing causes CO2 buildup, which can cause you to be even more confused and possibly pass out. So when we say panic can kill you in a cave, that's why you have to stay calm and still and make very deliberate moves only, because every second matters, every movement matters. That's why I hit pause there. Let's keep it going.
One or both are already dead. They just don't know it yet.
I love that straightforward comment. Like,
Accidents like these end very grimly. We have found marks on the walls where victims have thrashed around in their final desperation. We found
see, like that comment too from the people from the first Mr. Ballin video that we reacted to, where they were like embrace as they drown, like lovers, like, oh, let's just drown together. In the real world, that's what happens. They trash around in their final desperate moments. That's really what happens. And we see it when people run out of air or the regulators not working, they go berserk. Nobody's going to embrace and, love each other or whatever in their final moments. That's just a myth. Like, I don't care that the police says they found these bodies like they were embracing. That makes no sense to me.
powerful last words scratched in the scuba tanks. We found evidence of struggles between buddies over the remaining air.
That's
A
reality.
horrifying, agonizing way to die. A death where you know it's happening, and all you can do is wait. If I'm scaring you a bit, good. That's the point. But I'm not telling you can never dive in a cavern or cave. What I'm telling you is that to do it right, you need to have the training, the experience, and the equipment necessary to do it safely. Cave divers rarely have accidents in caves. It's the divers without cave training who have them. Cave divers are trained to use special kicks to move through the cave without stirring up silt.
Beautiful.
They learn to avoid contact with the bottom, even when sharing air, writing on a slate, or handling a problem. Cave divers are trained to use special equipment. They use special lights that are much more powerful than regular dive lights. They carry at least 2 backup lights each. And they use redundant regulators to handle life support failure. And they're trained in special air sharing techniques needed for long swims out of a cave. Cave divers plan their air supplies carefully, keeping enough so that they can make it out even with unplanned delays or if sharing air with a team member. Cave divers always have a continuous guideline back to the surface, but it's not as simple as unrolling a reel behind you. Cave divers must learn to lay a line so they avoid entanglement, so they don't confuse it with other lines that may be in the cave, and so they don't break the line or cause it to pull free.
This is so important because
yeah, go ahead.
you're going to stop it at the same time.
That's why it's double clicking, because we're both clicking it.
We're both hitting it
And
at the same time.
you go first, and then I want to add something that was very specific there.
All right, so all I'm going to say is we've had a ton of comments in other videos about why didn't they just bring a line? Well, because just bringing a line is not that easy. We actually go through hours and hours and hours of line training during our cave diving class. It's not just bringing a rope. It doesn't work just like that. And actually, I've commented in a few videos to people that have made these comments that for a person that is non-trained, bringing a rope might mean that you're going to get entangled and drown inside one of these caves if you're not trained to do it. You actually learn to do it. And one of the things that you actually look forward to the most, at least for me, I don't know, Woody, if you were the same case, but for me, one of the things I look forward to the most during my cave diving class was to finish so I don't have to be the line guy anymore. Because, man, the whole class, I was the line guy. I'm laying line on every dive, every time. And I was just like, please, God, let me finish so someone else can do this damn line work. Because it's a lot of work and you have to know how to do it. Just like Lamar said, there's a process, there's a methodology. So you know how to do it. You don't entangle yourself in it. You also don't confuse it with other line. You don't cause accidents. You see that they were tying it off into lines that are called secondary, primary tie off. There is a process to do it. It's a technique you learn during class. It's not just bringing a rope with you. There's a process and a methodology. Go ahead.
And you have to be able to do all of what Gus just said without losing your buoyancy and silting out the cave. He showed that wraparound with the line, and in fact, we didn't explain it, but he came back under the line and the opposite direction, which locks the line off onto that tie-off. And I'm not trying to teach you how to do line work right now. I'm illustrating and highlighting what Gus said. Even that maneuver of how you tie it around a rock is a technique that needs to be done right, because we can't have that line come off that rock. That's our guideline back out of the cave, and we don't want to cause a line entanglement, an entrapment, etc. So it's very technical. And Lamar is basically right now discussing the 5 rules of cave diving and why each of these things is important. So let's keep it going because this is perfect.
Awesome. Did I stop it or you? All right.
Cave divers also learn to protect the fragile cave environment. As your instructor probably told you, if you break a piece of coral, you may have destroyed 10 years of growth. If you break a stalactite or some other geologic cave formation, you may destroy 10,000 years of nature's work. The rules and techniques that allow cave divers to dive safely were learned in the 1960s and 70s, before we knew all the dangers. Each survival principle a cave diver applies today was learned at the cost of someone's life in that era. But there's no need to repeat those painful lessons. Certainly you don't have to. And it's worth remembering that other overhead environments like wrecks or ice diving also call for special training and equipment. There's no reason to risk your life by diving in these environments without the needed equipment and training.
It's awesome.
Underwater caves are beautiful, magical places. Cave diving isn't for everyone, but for those who answer the call of their challenge and mystery with the proper equipment and training, they're the most wonderful places on earth.
I want to go diving right now. Look at that. Oh.
If cave diving interests you, ask your instructor or local dive operation about training to qualify to dive in caves, or write to the address on the screen at the end of this video. But until you have the training, stay out of the caves, no matter how safe they may look. Don't let a buddy or another diver talk you into something you know is dangerous or possibly fatal. Just say no. To avoid temptation, don't carry a light when diving near a cave, and don't let your buddy carry one either. And it never hurts to remind yourself that you're not the only one counting on a happy ending to every dive you make.
Did you see that, by the way? Don't carry a light if you're not cave trained, because that could tempt you to go into the cave.
Yeah.
I haven't stopped it much because he is nailing it.
This is
It's
the best video
perfection.
probably we've ever done. Yeah, I love it.
Not only is he going through all the technical aspects and the whys, but he's also showing you how amazing it is.
Yeah.
And he's saying, look, it is amazing to go into them. You can do this safely. I don't know how many times we've said, because if you get the proper training and you practice and you stay proficient, then it's amazing. I mean, to see this part of the earth that took tens of thousands of years to form, that only a few people can ever set their eyes on, it's a privilege. And we want to do it safely. Sometimes one other thing that I want to comment on is that we've seen comments of, why do you have to go and review videos where somebody died? Isn't that just benefiting off their death? He said the exact same thing. We've learned a lot, unfortunately, from tragedies that have happened in the past, and then we develop techniques to try to avoid those same fatal mistakes. I think, man, Lamar did a good job on this, and it was so long ago. He's a legend.
Right over there.
How deep did you get?
About 30 feet, I think.
On behalf of the NSS CDS and cave divers around the world, we wish you safe, fun, and wondrous diving, wherever that diving takes you. Please dive responsibly, and thanks for listening.
Doesn't get better than that.
Lamar.
Such a good job. Check actually safe. Yep. Well, Wes Kyles.
Yep.
That's the camera person. Ginny Springs is where they shot it, of course.
You remember how we've talked about many times being able to dive with a legend in your activity or your sport?
Amazing.
Like if you were a golfer, I think I referred to being able to golf with Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods or whoever your person is.
Yeah.
This Lamar would be one of those, certainly top 5 of the ability to dive within a cave. And he's such a nice guy.
Absolutely.
If you're at DEMA, the big national dive convention, I go up to him all the time and we just chat about new rebreather inventions and things that he does with his rebreather. And he's just completely down to earth.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end by just thanking him, if he happens to watch this, for both helping develop cave diving techniques, the 5 proper rules of cave diving, and reinforcing what our entire channel is about, which is to get properly trained in diving for whatever type of diving you're doing. And then it can be safe and amazing and enjoyable and wondrous. And that, I think, is the message that he was trying to convey, which we also try to convey often.
Absolutely. Such
Thank
a
you.
great job.
Thank you.
One of my favorite videos we've reacted to.
Definitely.
Again, I remember seeing this a couple of years ago, but I had forgotten of how awesome it is. So great job. And again, yeah, Lamar, if you ever watch this, welcome on the show anytime.
Oh, man.
We'd love to have him.
I would love to.
Right? How many stories he probably has that, you know, our subscribers would love to obviously listen to as well. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and smash that like button as well. Hopefully this also got people excited to become cave divers. As Lamar mentioned, I mean, I want to go diving right now.
I want to go cave diving with my DPV.
Absolutely. Yeah, hopefully this got people excited as well. If you're a diver, you know, to work your way up to become a cave diver, of course, this is not something that you can do overnight. You have to work your way to get that, what we call the black belt of, you know, scuba diving. But it's definitely possible. We are not special, you know, kind of people or whatever. We just worked our way up to get there. And we hope that people are encouraged to do that and join us in a cave diving family, because we want people to go there and see these amazing, amazing places that we get to see. And if you're not a diver, that, you know, you go to your local dive shop and register for a Try Scuba and check it out, because we love it. We enjoy it. And we hope that you check it out and learn to love it as much as we do.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you
Well
next
said.
week.